wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, New York, it's a wonderful town.
And now, it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network of programming. And here's your hosts, Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligera, and it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike. And speaking of Brooklyn Mike, he's with me right now. What's up, brother?
Good morning, brother. How are you this morning?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. At least no phones went in the toilet, man. And I'll come clean. Last week, I told you that my phone went in the toilet bowl. Well,
Right.
I had one of those, it was my home phone, so I had one of those deals where you had two cordless phones, and
Right.
2 days later, the second one fell in, and then
Are
a
you
day,
serious?
and then a day after that, my cell phone went in. So within 5 days, I ended up dropping 3 phones in the toilet, which is something I have never done. I've never lost a set of keys. I've never done. I don't know what happened, but it was. Let me just tell you, if I was trying to make an outside shot with a phone into the toilet bowl, I couldn't do it. All right, and not one, not two, but 3. Every phone I owned ended up in the toilet bowl last week. I just want to say that it's over. I got new phones. Everything's cool. And yes, the answer is yes. I will not be bringing a phone near the bathroom with me. And when people call, because that's usually why I brought the phone, because every time I go into the bathroom, somebody calls, they're going to have to wait. That's all there is to it, bro.
So you answered my question. What lesson have we learned? So you already answered that question.
Exactly. The lesson learned on this, boys and girls, is don't carry the phone in the bathroom,
I think if we did a poll and polled people of how many phones they dropped in the toilet, I don't think anybody would come close to 3.
3.
So I think you should call Guinness.
I should.
The Guinness Book of Records.
I should. And you know what? When I've told this story, just to when people are feeling bummed out that things aren't going well for them and stuff, I usually just give them a day in the life of Billy C. and cheers them all up, And most people, believe it or not, have dropped their cell phones in toilets or body of water or puddle or something like that. But very few that I've talked to have done it with their home phones, let alone both both phones, both extensions, so to speak.
Amazing. That's okay. Well,
like I said,
I'm
if we
speechless.
if we were doing it for money instead of pitching quarters, if we were trying to throw phones into the toilet from 10 feet away, I probably wouldn't nail that many of them, and yet all 3 ended up diving in themselves. So amazing stuff. And we got a bunch of crazy stuff to talk about today. Of course, we'll be talking about some Jet stuff, unfortunately for both of us. Some lack of Met stuff, all this stuff. But let's start off with a couple of the funky stories in the news right now. I'm going to ask you, what the hell is going on with this kid from Notre Dame who was, going to be a front runner? I mean, listen, here's a guy that was a finalist in the Heisman Trophy winning, and a lot of people thought that this kid was going to win because they wanted a full-time defensive player, and it would have been the first time, and all this stuff. And then over the last couple of weeks, all the different talk about it. Draft value plummeting and position plummeting, and all I can think about though, Mike, is who's going to end up with a shot at this guy, and that's all we need is another wackadoodle coming over to the Jets. What's going on with this whole story?
Well, evidently he spoke to Jeremy Schaap yesterday, and he came clean and said he was duped, basically, that somebody else made up this whole imaginary girlfriend thing, and he had nothing to do with it. According to Jeremy Schaap, you'll hear audio of this interview, but he didn't want to go on camera, Manti Te'o. And Jeremy Schaap that he.
Yeah, we just lost you, Brooklyn Mike. We just lost you. We'll get you. We'll get you back here. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. And then the other thing that really gets me, and of course what really gets me is this piece of crap phone system. But what really gets me is the fact that people are coming. They're saying they knew the girl. Oh yeah, we met her. And all of this. Now, Brooklyn Mike's gonna. We'll get Brooklyn Mike back on in a few moments here because I got to reboot the whole friggin' system. So I apologize for that. But a lot of people think that it was a. We're going to get Mikey to elaborate on the on his interview with Jeremy Schaap, but. A lot of people feel that it was kind of orchestrated by Te'o himself and his family. For what reason, I don't know. I mean, from the reports and different versions of stories that I've heard, the guy is kind of a flake, and I was listening to some other sports shows yesterday, and, some stories are popping out now that, he's, let's just say that maybe he prefers an alternate style of life. And, he didn't want to come clean with that in the locker room, and he orchestrated this whole story and blah, blah, blah. His parents had backed him up. As some reports said that, they all met the girl and all this stuff. And now, of course, I didn't hear this interview that we're trying to get Mikey back to tell us about, but amazing stuff going on with that whole story. Now, before I lost Mike because of the crap, I'll say it, the shit phone system that we have. The bottom line was, I was wondering. If this guy would end up in New York, rumor had it that he would that the Giants were going to take a look at him. This was before all of this storyline. Now the Giants get a deeper draft pick, obviously a later draft pick than the Jets do. But I see him being available right when it's the Jets' turn. And I wonder, if they're going to make a move like that. A lot of teams, and as soon as we get Mikey back on, we'll be talking to him later on about the Jets and their new GM and all that stuff. You wonder most times the basic rule that teams follow, NFL teams follow in the draft pick, is they try to take the best player available on the board. And even despite their needs, sometimes, I don't believe in that. I believe that you should draft for your needs. And with that said, the Jets need linebacker. Bart Scott's may not be returning. Who knows what's going on with him? He's obviously no spring chicken. And I just. In my opinion, do we waste our time with this kid? Do we need any more, circus acts for the circus known as the Jets? So, we got Mikey back finally. I'm sorry about that, but this piece of garbage Progresso soup can phone system we have. Go ahead, finish telling me about the interview.
Well, according to Jeremy Schaap, they spoke for 2.5 hours, and Schaap said, and I'm quoting here, he had a full command of everything I posed. He seemed very comfortable in the chair. So Schaap believed what Te'o was explaining to him. Basically, he said that he met this girl on Facebook, and obviously there was a picture, and then there was a voice to the picture because there was some girl talking to him on the phone. And he basically fell for it. There's this thing out there in cyber world called catfishing. I don't know if you heard of it, but basically it's people going online and making up, becoming a fake person to dupe other people for whatever reason. That's what they enjoy doing. But the guy behind this whole thing, he came clean, and he admitted to a friend that he created this whole fictional woman named Kakua, I believe was the name. And I just listen. I mean, I can see. I can see it meeting somebody on Facebook. Not that I do it, but and building an internet relationship, and then obviously talking to the person. What I can't see is that it's just weird to me that this guy Manti Te'o meets this woman online, but in 3+ years never decides to try to go meet her, which is kind of strange to me.
Exactly. And then saying how serious that he's in love with her and everything else, and I don't know. Now who came clean? Because I heard rumor that it was a former football player. Now maybe I'm wrong, but Mozio Tutupu or something like that. Who
Ronaya Tuisopo?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, man. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on. I mean, come on. At least I got the poo right,
Right.
But apparently the picture of the girl was somebody that he went to school with, and then you have the parents at some point during this whole fiasco said they met the girl, and it came out the other day that even other players said, oh yeah, no, we met her, she's a real person. I mean, how do you explain all of that?
Well, the way I explain that, I just think that Notre Dame, the entity itself, the school, was doing everything to protect Te'o and the school's reputation. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's just weird, like you said, that the parents met this woman. And, well, if everybody has met this woman, how come, Manti hasn't met this woman? So it was just very, very bizarre. But like I said, according to Shap, who's obviously, well-respected journalist, he did meet with him for 2.5 hours, and he believed everything he said. It's just, I don't know.
It's crazy,
strange.
I've
never heard anything like this before.
It's not strange. It's totally crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I can't think of another word. I heard an interesting story the other day. I had actually go downstate, so I was listening to a sports, a major sports talk show. I'm not going to plug them, but you know who it was. I'm heading down towards the city, so what do you think I'm listening to? Right. And they had a guy on, and I didn't catch his name, but he played college hoops, and he started his career in and now I guess he covers the NBA, and he started his career with Notre Dame. And what came out, he told the story that he was in Notre Dame, and he did a stupid thing as a kid. He stole a fellow student's credit card. I don't know if you heard this story.
Dan Gottlieb.
Okay.
Yeah. Dan Gottlieb.
Yeah. He stole the credit card, got caught, came clean. They all the families they made restitution. The families didn't press charges or anything else, so he didn't get arrested because obviously it was a criminal act. And Notre Dame, the school, and he was very honest about it. He said, listen, they didn't want the press. They didn't want anyone to know why I was leaving the school. They clearly didn't want me on the team anymore. So they said that he got homesick and went and played for another college. And it wasn't until some students got all pissed off that they weren't telling the truth that the truth came out. And his opinion was that it's something similar with Manteo, that they're not only their interest isn't so much for Manteo, it's more for the school's reputation. They don't want any students that do crazy stuff. And the last thing I had heard, now I didn't hear that he met with Jeremy Schaap, but that the school's officials were literally begging Manteo to speak and tell the story of what happened, because they've been supportive of him throughout this whole thing. And it looks like they have egg on the face. At least in this particular case, he's gone. He's not going back to the school. He's entering the NFL, of course.
Right, but like I said before, the only reason I can think of is the school itself protecting their reputation. And yeah, I did hear about that. It was Dan Gottlieb, who actually does a radio show, and he said he stole the identities or something or the credit cards of, actually it was 3 students for a total of like $900.
Yeah, $900 or something.
Yeah, and he said that basically, he was willing to come clean and, accept any punishment, and but Notre Dame was like, no, let's keep this quiet. I mean, but we just saw this recently on a bigger scale with Penn State. I mean, it's just, let's keep this quiet. Let's not let this get out. We'll handle it. It'll go away, and that just seems to be the MO of all these prestigious schools, is that no dirty laundry could ever come out. We have to do whatever we can, to keep this hush hush. And it just, again, it's not on as great a scale as Penn State, but it's definitely a lot crazier and weirder.
Well, it's weird
than anything I've ever heard before.
No, it's totally weird. And the thing is let's think about it. Let's be real here for a second. We're in 2013, bro. This kind of stuff may become more normal than, in the next couple of years because of technologies and the way people, socialize and meet each other, online. I mean, when we were growing up, I would have never thought in a million years to meet some girl online. Even to this day, I wouldn't think of that. Even though I'm alive for this. I mean, it just, to me, it's not. I'd rather meet somebody in person. But it's very obviously I'm not the norm. I'm a minority here. More people use the social media and dating services and all of that in today's world. So. Maybe we hear about this more. My main question is, what does it do to his NFL career? Does it drop him?
You know what? I don't think it's really going to drop him. If someone really likes the kid and he's a good linebacker, I don't think it is, because of, like I said, he did have this interview. It was a 2.5-hour interview. It wasn't like he was a sex offender or anything really. It's just a weird story. It's not like he broke any laws.
Yeah, but if he orchestrated it with his parents to try and get, I mean, it's pretty effed up, because I mean, if they're trying to make this feel good story and it was around the Heisman voting and come on, man. I could see where they were trying to sway and get another story. I'm not listen. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not accusing him one way or another. But like Chris Rock would say, I understand. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it. Like I said, well, number one, like I said, according to this interview, they fully believe his story. It's not proven that he made it up or he had anything to do with it. Right now, it's what's being said is that somebody came clean and said that he duped him, and it was a hoax, and he had nothing to do with it. Like I said, I can see somebody having an internet relationship and talking to somebody on the it's happened. I know friends that have married from meeting on the internet. I mean, it's not weird. That's not weird. The weird part is, like I said, that in all these years, 3 years plus, he never met this woman. And what's even stranger is that the parents and other players said, well, they've met her. That's the part that's bizarre.
Well, that's the lie. That's got to be the lie. That's the untruth of the story. Because
he didn't say that my parents met her.
No, his parents said.
Right, and also the other students, he didn't tell the other students to say that. I mean, it could be, like I said, a whole cover-up to make Notre Dame, look good and not to, air dirty laundry. He could definitely have nothing to do with this whatsoever than being a victim.
Well, if that were the case, Mike, I would have expected no comments from the parents. I would have expected no one to stand up and say, I met the girl. The only people that I would say I met the girl is maybe people that were involved in the hoax. Some girl would have had to have. Let's just say, for argument's sake, the hoax went so far as they had some girl posing as this woman. So therefore it would have had to been said. Listen, I like you, respect Jeremy Schaap 100%. I like him. His father was great and everything, but I don't think we heard the end of this. I think that it's gonna get crazy, and what's even scarier for me is that we could see him in green and white. That's. I mean, when you talk about circus and baggage and ridiculous situations. Who heads that pack better than Rex Ryan? So I don't know, man.
Well, let me go on record as saying I don't think we'll see him in green and white. I have my guess who the Jets' #1 pick is going to be already, and I don't think it's Manti Te'o. I do think, and I'll ask you the same question because you asked me, does this hurt his chances? Does this drop him? I still say he's a top 15 pick. I don't think he's going to drop. I mean, he's definitely a first-rounder. I don't think he's going to drop past that, and I say he's a top 15 pick. I don't really think it's going to hurt him that much.
I think that the jury will be out after the combines. I think that I think Notre Dame. To be honest with you, Mike, I think Notre Dame, with all of the fanfare that went into this championship game, and to have Alabama just smack the snot out of these guys, how good was that team? How good was that conference that they play in? And as a result, how good is Manteo? So the bottom line, and I'm not disputing you. I think that he's a extremely talented young man, and especially obviously on the defensive side. But I think that the combines are going to really define where he goes. But I agree, he's most likely going to be a #1 pick to somebody.
It won't be the Jets. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm telling you right now. I'm going on record. I don't think the Jets are going to touch him.
All right, but we'll get to the Jets in a little bit later. Let's go from that ridiculous, crazy story to we got more, Mikey. We got the whole Lance Armstrong saga, dude. Was this necessary? I mean, is this a guy? I heard an opinion someplace that somebody said, Lance Armstrong is doing this because he likes to be in the public eye. And I'm saying to myself, why would a guy do this at this point? He's already, been dragged through the mud, coming clean, being stripped, this and that. Now he basically says, I mean, all the things he said to Oprah. Now they go back and they're stripping him of Olympic titles. And I mean, this guy, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him leaping off, taking a dive off a Brooklyn Bridge or something, man.
Yeah, you know what? I was so disinterested in this whole fiasco that I didn't even bother to watch the interview. I read his quotes. I saw pieces of the interview. Yeah, bottom line, bro, and I'll be honest with you, the man rides a bicycle. He rides a bicycle, and I don't care. You know what I'm saying? If it was like I said, when we watched the baseball with Bonds and Clemens, yeah, I'm interested in that stuff because that's baseball is a part of the American history, and it's a sacred thing because there's these sacred records that are being broken. I don't care about Lance Armstrong. From what I've read and what I've heard over the years about this guy, he's arrogant, he's defiant, and he's been classified as a sociopath. And nobody really likes this guy. He's not a fan favorite to the media. And basically, I wish the whole thing would just go away. I think the guy's a jerk, to be honest with you. And I don't even, from what I saw on television, the few pieces, I don't even think he's sincere. Not to mention he's still throwing other people under the bus. He's like, I just did it because, I had to keep up with everybody else doing it. I mean, the guy's a moron, to tell you the truth. And then, again, he rides a bicycle. I could care less about this guy. And I wish the whole thing would just go away, to be honest with you.
The funny thing about it is he was pretty arrogant in the sense that he said, well, yeah, they stripped all my titles and stuff, but, I banked $8 million over my career.
Exactly. I said he's been known to be very arrogant.
Yeah.
And that just turns you off from this guy. I mean, there's nothing about this guy that makes you want to like him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are people that have done steroids or have broken laws and everything, and you feel.
Hey, I never was convicted. I was never convicted, so stop trying to get me to admit something on the air. All right? I was never convicted of anything. But the bottom line is you could see where people will come clean, and their ultimate goal, like Mark McGwire. He finally comes clean, whatever. His goal is because he wants to be forgiven. We as a society have been, especially with our sports people and especially the stars, we are forgiving. You know, if they're honest with us, we have a tendency to forgive them. And you know, I look at this Lance Armstrong situation, and I say to myself, this guy, you know, what he's doing is just, you know, nailing the coffin shut. I mean, there is going to be no forgiveness for him. I mean, you know, and I'm wondering, like you said, is this what he really wants? Does he want to be the evil guy? You know, and I hear you. I'm as interested in him as I am in the return of hockey. But you know, I mean, the thing is, you know, I don't see anything that this guy can gain from this aside from being on the front page again.
That's the only thing I could see as well. And then you talk about him, his defiance and everything. It's very similar to Clemens and Bonds. See, these guys will never. There'll be no forgiveness from society or for fans for Clemens and Bonds. However, you know, guys like Andy Pettitte or Giambi, you know, fans will say, all right, fine, he did it, but, you know, he admitted it. But the guys that are so defiant and we know you did it, I mean, there's no sympathy whatsoever, and that's why those guys will never see the Hall of Fame.
I think Clemens will.
Yes.
I think Clemens will. I think Clemens
see the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think Clemens will get in eventually because I think what's going to happen with Clemens is that, and they already planted the seed. I think we touched on it last week. I think what's happening with Clemens is that it's going to be one of these. Well, you know, I was getting older. I just was trying to stay in the game. It was at the end of my career, and he's going to separate himself from that whole group of guys like the Bonds and the McGuires and the Sammy Sochas and, you know, the Palmeiros that said he never did it. You know, all those guys. You know, so I don't know. I mean, that's just my prediction. You know, I hope not. I don't want to see any cheaters get in there at all. You know.
Yeah, I don't see him saying that though. You know, he's been as defiant as Bonds. I mean, well, Bonds actually admit he did the clear. You know, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know what I was putting on my body," which is a lot of nonsense. But Clemens, to this day, hasn't done anything wrong, according to Roger Clemens. And what do you get, like 37% of the vote? We'll see next year. You know, when they vote again, if that number goes down even a little bit, I don't see it happening. Even
with Bonds, though, Mike, you know, nobody convicted the guy.
Nobody convicted him, but he did admit he did use what they call the clear, which is like a gel you rub it on your body.
Right, and he says he didn't know. I was putting it on.
It was an admittance. For Clemens, there was absolutely no admittance. It was all denial.
And there was no, he hasn't been convicted. You know, so I mean, when do we say? And I'm playing devil's advocate. You know, I don't want any cheaters anyway. You know, but you know, when do we say, well, you know, I talk about this all the time on the Talking Boxing with Billy C show, and it's like, you know, I'm still old-fashioned. I believe in you're innocent until proven guilty. I mean, somewhere along the line in this country, it's the other way around all of a sudden. You know, I come out and I make an accusation about Brooklyn Mike, and now everybody believes me, and you have to prove that I'm lying, you know, and that's wrong, you know. And in this case, you know, I'm not saying that they didn't do it or whatever, but you know, at some point you come to a court of law, I guess, or you come to proof, and if there's no, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt proof, and nobody's convicted, I mean, when do you say, well, okay, maybe it was a you know, rush to judgment, and you give the guy the benefit of the doubt?
Well, you know, in this day and age with the social media, I believe that, you know, in the court of law, I still believe that holds true, that you're innocent until proven guilty inside that courtroom. But in the court of public opinion, it's definitely what you say, that you, as soon as it comes out, you're guilty and you have to prove your innocence.
But that's wrong.
That's just the way it is.
But I don't agree.
I'm not saying it's right,
yeah.
But in the court of public opinion, that's just how it is nowadays with all this social media, and this guy heard this guy heard that, and this guy put this on Facebook, and this guy tweeted this on Twitter. I mean, it's crazy. It's scary.
Yeah, but it's also not right, you know. And
I agree.
And
it's not right, but it is what it is.
And we could jump right back to the Manteo situation. I mean, that falls right into it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when the story first broke, it's like, oh, this guy did it because, you know, he was looking for sympathy, for votes for the Heisman, blah blah blah. That's exact. I heard that right away. I was on set. I was working, and someone came up to me.
Quit bragging about your
account.
quit bragging about your movie and television career. All right, Brooklyn Mike, quit. He's on the set. You see, you notice how he threw that in, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, Mikey.
I didn't even realize I said.
Oh
that.
yeah. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, this exactly.
Oh, okay. Do I have to tell
came up to me.
everybody he works on the award-winning? Or I know you. I know, but I mean, you guys, did you win? I know that you were nominated for a ton for Homeland. Did they win?
We won Best Drama, Best Actor, and Best Actress.
Of course, Brooklyn. Of course, Brooklyn Mikey knows. And oh, by the way, yes, for all of you that had seen the Billy C. boxing banner on Law and Order: Criminal Intent, yes. That was Brooklyn Mike again. Yeah, he's a movie star. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Whatever.
Go ahead. Don't make me break out some of your clips of you starring in there. You know I got them. You know I got them.
But like I was saying, I still like to believe that in the courtroom, it's still you're innocent until proven guilty. But like I said, outside the courtroom, that's just not the way of the world anymore.
Yeah,
and I was saying somebody came up to me and told me this story. They saw it on Twitter, and right away, I didn't, but the kid that told me this story, he said, "Oh, look, he probably did it to do this and to get votes and sympathy." And I told him right away. I said, "Wait a second, you don't know the story yet. Has he said anything?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay, let's wait and see, what comes out of it." And again, people just jump to conclusions.
Yeah, I hate that. I really do. Almost as much as hockey, and we'll give that a little time right now. Yes, it started, or it's going to start today. I guess the first games are going to be scheduled. From what I understand, even though it's a shortened season, Mike, the hockey fans are excited. You've said all along that the Rangers probably were one of the teams that were anxious to have a short season because this, they're set up to win. And from what I understand and different conversations that I've stuck my ear on, not that I really get into hockey, I'll be honest, I really don't. But the goaltenders seem to be in the toughest spot with a shortened season. And I don't understand why. Do you have an answer? I mean, because that seems to everyone keeps saying, "Oh, well, the poor goaltenders, they're going to have a rough time. In a short season, they have a rough time." I don't understand the connection. Do you?
No, unless they just haven't been practicing and seeing, NHL players actually taking shots on them. I could see them being a little rusty.
Yeah. No. Good point. Good point.
I'm sure. I mean, these guys are the best in the world. True professionals, and maybe in the beginning, first couple of games, they got to get their legs back underneath them. But I don't see it being a problem for throughout the season. And I'm sure these guys stayed in shape and practiced. But I think when it comes to a game time situation, these guys will probably, meaning the goaltenders, will probably need a little bit more work. A little bit more practice during game time situations than the actual forwards and defensemen.
Practice. We're talking practice, man. Practice. Oh, that was one of the classics. I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? But actually,
well, that's like the second or third best soundbite ever, next to Jim Mora.
Playoffs.
And who's the Dennis Green? They are who we thought they were when he was talking about the Chicago Bears.
Well, how about your boy Herm Edwards?
Oh, that's it. That's true.
That's got to be. One. That's got to be.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. We played to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Yeah, one. I mean, these guys. Oh man.
But as far as this NHL season, I mean, the Rangers are poised to get past the semifinals and make it to the Cup this year. They picked up Nash, and this guy, he scored 289 goals. He's only 28 years old, and he doesn't even need to score 40 goals, to be honest with you. If he scores in the neighborhood of 30, and if Gaborik stays healthy, because when Gaborik stays healthy, he's a 40-goal scorer himself. And you got Ryan Callahan, who's their captain, who put in 29 goals last year. like I said, this team is just poised and ready to make a run at the finals. I did a little bit of breakdown, and my guess is it's going to be the Rangers and the St. Louis Blues in the finals.
Well, I'll take your word on it. I didn't do any breakdown. But I did happen to hear an interview with Nash the other day, and somebody asked him that exact question, what kind of, is everybody in good shape? Have they been, taking care of themselves? And his answer, he paused for a minute, and he said, "We are now." Which gave me, reading between the lines, whether I should or shouldn't have, that they came in out of shape, So that was an eye opener to me, but it was also an honest answer from him, and I'm curious to see how they come out of the gate. Yeah,
you don't know. I mean, it's a crapshoot. I mean, a team that wasn't as good last year. Let's say they had more practice time, or they played over in Europe. Practice, but they played over in Europe. It depends on obviously the stamina, the shape, and how much time they got in during the lockout. So a team that, like I said, wasn't as good could take advantage of this 48 game schedule. You never know. But I mean, that being said, even the Rangers, I mean, they'll definitely get in if they don't finish, 1 in the Eastern Conference. Even if they finish 3, I mean, you're still going to get into the playoffs, and then by that time, everybody should be at full steam and playing to their potential. So again, the Kings won it last year. They were the first 8 seed team to win the Stanley Cup. I don't see them making a magical run, even though most of their team is back this year, I should say. Vancouver's another team in the Western Conference you got to contend with, another good team. But I just think it's going to be St. Louis and New York, and which should make for a good Stanley Cup. And I'm looking forward to any Game 7 I can watch, and that's about it.
I know. I obviously I'm an Islanders fan. I also like the Sharks, but we'll have to wait and see. Basketball, man. The Knicks played over in England the other day and beat the Pistons. The Nets are, playing good. They're playing great ball. They're 2 games out of first. They won their home and home. They won the second game last night at home after losing to Atlanta a couple of nights ago. I just before we get into talking about the Knicks and Nets, just talking about Europe for a second, we're doing all our major sports are taking the trips over to Europe, predominantly England, and they sell out. I know this basketball game sold out in a matter of hours. The football games, when they have the football game, NFL football games over there, they sell out in a matter of hours. You know what? And just like we were talking about with social media and Manteo's situation, both positive and negative issues that go on with the internet and stuff like that. I can see, and I believe they're laying the groundwork to expand into Europe with our American professional sports, and once they can get around the dollars, which would be the logistics of having these games and the travel expenses and all of that, I see it happening. My question is, do you think it will be successful?
You know what? As a fan of all these sports, let's say your team is chosen now. Let's say the Jets, they have to travel overseas to play whoever they have to play. It's going to take a lot out of these guys. All the travel and everything, and do you really want to see your team travel overseas and play? I don't, but it's like you said, you mentioned the key word, it's money. It's all about the almighty dollar, and if it's going to bring in more revenue, then they're going to do it, and we have no say in that. I can't see, players, wanting to travel that much just to go play a game here and there.
Initially to get to Europe, probably, but then after a while, it becomes a nuisance. I would think.
I would think so. I mean, what's the trip? 6 hours, 7 hours? I don't know. It's not fun. Let's put it that way. Just to go to L.A. We talk about the time difference and the 5.5 hour travel time to L.A. from coast to coast. And they talk about how that takes a lot out of a team when they have to travel cross country. Well, now you're traveling, across the world. I mean, it's unfair whoever has to do it, and you know for a fact that the Jaguars are doing it in, I believe, 2014 and 2015. So and it also takes away from a home game here. You know, so now that the team gets 8 home games a year, now one team is going to get only 7, even though it's considered a home game in London, which doesn't make sense because then the owners can say, well, it's still a home game. If the fans want to come out, they have first right at tickets because they're the home team. Well, okay, fine, but who's paying my airfare?
Exactly.
That's crazy. It's stupid.
Well,
stupid.
Logistically, it brings up more. You're right about the flight. First of all, I don't know how long the flight is to London, but I know from like New York to Germany, it's an 8-hour flight in the air. So
yeah.
You're talking about a long flight. So you're not flying over on Friday night. So they're probably going to leave wherever they're playing on Sunday, fly to Europe and try to acclimate. But we got all these other issues. Listen. Not that food and stuff is bad in other parts of the world, but your body, listen, whether people want to admit it or not, there's little, germs and microorganisms and stuff that live in all of our food. Your body gets used to it wherever you live. Like, for a fact, you travel. I'm very leery of what I eat when I travel. It's the only time I'll eat a McDonald's or something because I know a cheeseburger is the same in Georgia as it is in New York. It's the same stuff. But I'm hesitant to go to the Greasy Spoon that I would eat out in New York and pull up to one in Charlotte. I don't know. If I don't know it, I'm just passing through. So food becomes an issue. These guys could get sick, the liquids, the water. So what do? They have to bring their own food with them, so logistically it becomes a nightmare, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's like you said, there's so many other things to consider besides just travel time. It's a different way of life. And it's 2
weeks. It's not just one. Because when you go over there to play, let's say you get there for that week, now, Sunday you're done, you hop on a plane, you fly back to the States, and now how many days does it take you to get back to normal? So
you're affected on the
for the following game, So, it's tough, and it looks like all of our major sports are going to be tackling that issue at some point in the future.
But how many games could you possibly let's just take the NFL for instance, okay? We play 16 games. How many games could you possibly have all of our teams travel to Europe to play? And how many home games are the owners going to willing to give up? That's another thing you have to consider.
Well, you know what? If it were me, we used to have something called NFL Europe. It was a developmental league, and I think that some of the statistics and the fanfare and the interest and stuff was the groundwork was laid for that. Maybe what they need to do is create some type of a division out there, and if they were going to, and I'm just speaking out my butt here with the NFL, but let's say they pick up 4 teams in Europe. And let them do their schedule. Let them play their season amongst themselves, and then have them somehow infiltrate our playoff system. I don't know, man. I don't know, but that would make more sense than like you're saying. You're right. The team's gonna give up a home game, or worse. They're gonna have to travel to Europe to play a European team as an away game, which is most likely if they added a team. I'm not just saying bring 2 teams to Europe. I'm saying if Europe adds a team and now they're participating in let's say, NFL, when you go to Europe, you're playing, they're the home team, but then they're going to fly to the States to play you. I don't know. I just think logistically and expense-wise, it's huge. But who's got more money to spend than the NFL?
No, you're right. And at what point do you say enough is enough?
Well, they want money. I mean, they're
of course they do. I mean, it's just and like you said, logistically, is it worth the extra money to put these players and these teams and everybody through all this madness?
Well,
is
when
you're
selling out 100,000, 80,000 seats in 3 hours, I mean, that's how they're going to justify it.
Yeah.
And if a European television network steps up and opens up the checkbook, that's how you're going to justify. I mean, listen, you said it before a few minutes ago. It's all about the money, and I don't think they give a crap whether the players are going to be beat to crap or not, trying to make that flat. I think the players and the comfort of them is going to be the last thing on the NFL's mind. Hey, the NFL has the most control. It may be the best league. Everything may be set up as evenly, as you possibly can in professional sports. But let me tell you something. The NFL is also, you do what I say, and that's the end of that.
Absolutely. Especially with Roger Goodell.
Oh, God. Well, I don't know if I think that whole thing with the Saints and everything, I think that he showed that he's just a power-hungry guy. He's not what the NFL needs. Up to him, the NFL was lucky. We found these guys that were commissioners that really, were looking to expand the brand and did a fantastic job. You go to Pete Rozelle and Tagliabue and all of that. I mean, these guys did a fantastic job. Roger Goodell, this is a guy that, stepped in and, next thing you know, I don't ever remember as much television time, at games in the booth. I don't think any of them combined has had as much as Roger Goodell has in his short tenure so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's definitely had more face time than Pete Rozelle and Tagliabue. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, Pete Rozelle was the best.
Who, Pete Rozelle?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely. There's no question. And even Tagliabue was very good. And look, who stepped in, to this whole, New Orleans Saints, mess? Tagliabue. He stepped in.
And that's why I think that I think that was the beginning of the end with Roger Goodell. And the other thing, too, is that how do you think he's feeling about that it was resolved? And people like us are all saying, thank God that Tagliabue stepped in, Goodell was doing it wrong, blah, blah, blah. He's obviously a power-hungry, egotistical guy, and that's not going to sit well with him. I don't know him personally, but I would bet dollars to donuts that, that he's not happy about that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully he has learned a lesson from Mr. Tagliabue, and he won't be such a Gestapo in the future. And we'll move on from there. But we'll see.
Well, let's get back to baskets a little bit here. The Knicks, Nets are going to be playing another game. So far, the Knicks have owned the Nets, but I really think they're going to be playing a different team. Plus, the Knicks seem to, I don't know, they seem to be coming unraveled a little bit, and a lot of the finger pointing is going to my man Carmelo Anthony, and the fact that he's not that strong mentally. If you get under his skin, we saw it; it was evident. We talked about it last week when meet me after the game and blah blah blah. But now other players in the NBA are coming forward saying, you know what, that's how you beat Melo. You get under his skin a little bit, you rough him up a little bit, and he doesn't like it. The other Knicks are noticing it. That the team seems to, follow how he's doing, and Stoudemire's back, and what's going to go on? Are they going to right the ship, or is this our opportunity for our Nets to come in and take over?
No, listen, I think they're going to right the ship. It's not something that is going to affect this team, long term. He knows. He's got a temper. He knows that, people get under his skin. He just has to get over it, bottom line. And as far as, Stoudemire, you mentioned him. Yeah, he's come back, and he's starting to, get into that offensive groove again. And, somebody asked him recently, whose team is this? They had both players there. And Carmelo was like, are you serious? He asked me that question. And before he could finish his sentence, Stoudemire jumped in and said, it's Melo's team. And, and when he said that, then Melo said, it's Jim Dolan's team. So I don't think there's any kind of problem between those two guys. Stoudemire knows his role. He's a sixth man off the bench. He stays healthy, he'll be fine. The big thing with the Knicks is that they got Iman Shumpert back, and they needed him.
What's with that haircut? What's with that haircut, man?
The kid play haircut. I love it.
Kid and play. It looks like an eraser. I mean, his head looked like an eraser. I saw the clips. I'm like, oh my God, what's up with that, man? You could store a book in his hair, man. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I mean, the barbershop is a place that a lot of those guys like to hang out, and that's a creation right there. I want to meet the barber that did that, man. That's perfect. It looks like an eraser on a pencil to me, man.
Yeah, I love it. Like I say, it looks like Kid and Play. It's a cool haircut, but
yeah.
He brings some athleticism to the backcourt, which is what they've been lacking. Obviously since Ray Felton went down, and they need that. They need that, and he's also their best defender. And keep in mind that this team, like I said, they went to Europe, and for the last 2 games that they played, they've held the opponent to under 90 points, and this has a lot to do with Shumpert. And also, when your best scorer and your second best scorer, meaning Carmelo Anthony and J.R. Smith, when they shoot 14 of 34, and you turn the ball over 16 times and you still win the game, that's something. And I think once they get Felton, listen, when this team is healthy and 100% healthy, they're one of the best in the East. Miami's Miami, and when you have LeBron James, no matter what team you're on, that's a tough team to beat because he is the best. Period. But as far as depth, this team is one of the best when they're healthy, and when they get Felton back, and Jason Kidd doesn't have to put in as many minutes because let's face it, he's 40 years old. And we haven't seen Rasheed Wallace in a while.
I think
Wallace is playing great ball.
I think Jason Kidd is going to turn out to be the biggest and smartest pickup that the Knicks made. I regret not getting him back with the Nets because he's 40 years old. But let me tell you, I was watching some of the Knicks game the other night, and Jason Kidd can take a situation, an exciting, stealing preventing a shot, a rebound, and all this high intensity, rush. And then Jason Kidd puts everything, okay, slow down. Let's get our play set up. It's just the way, as soon as that ball gets in Jason's hands, this guy listen, you want to see the definition of a point guard? You're going to see a picture of Jason Kidd. I mean, and I think that I think he's better in that position. Honestly, I think he's better in that position on the Knicks, despite being 40 years old. Whether his body can handle it or not, I don't know. But I don't think they're missing a beat with him.
Well, I think because Felton being out, I think the minutes, it's a lot of minutes for him, and his play has shown. When he does like 18 minutes as compared to 30 minutes, there is a difference.
But all he's got to do, he doesn't have to win games anymore. He was on teams previously where he had to make the winning shot or something. He doesn't have to do that now. All he needs to do is get all the other talent around him set and get the right play, at the right time. And he's got the guys around him to make those plays. You're right. Physically is physically, but still. There's not as much pressure on him to win a game. I think the pressure on Jason is to run the game.
Yeah, the pressure to win the game is on guys like Melo and Chandler and J.R. Smith. Those guys have the pressure to win the game. But as far as taking control of the game, Smith, a Kid still does it, just as good as anybody else in the league. But like I said, having Shumpert back, it's really going to boost this team. Like I said, because of what he brings to the backcourt with his athleticism and his defense. And again, once this team is healthy and we get Felton back, it's going to be a tough team to beat, and that includes the Nets beating them, who are playing great ball since. PJ Carlissimo has taken over. They've won 10 out of 12 with PJ, playing excellent ball. Both of the guards who were not playing for Avery Johnson have excelled in the last 12 games. It's going to be a really good game. It's like after the first game when the Nets surprised them and the Knicks came back and won the next two, I think it's going to be another tight game again, like game one. And it's going to go. It's all a question. It's going to go down to health and who stays healthy, because these two teams are going to be neck and neck all the way down to the final.
Well, considering Deron Williams and Lopez scored 44 of the 94 points last night against the Hawks. You allude to their play, and P.J. Carmicelo, of course, we got to give this guy credit. I mean, he knew exactly what to do when the opportunity came and fell in his lap. I'm still hopeful that the Brooklyn team is going to rise to the top in the East. When you look at the whole NBA, obviously the Knicks and Nets are a couple of the top teams, whether it be the East or West Conference. And I'm looking forward to it. I think the NBA is I think we're in one of the more exciting years of the NBA than I've seen in a long time. I'm not a big basketball fan. Yes, I follow it a little bit. But, I find myself looking to see where all the other teams are now. And that's something I really didn't do in the past.
Well, I think a lot has to do with the two New York teams playing as well as they are. People want to see if Miami is going to repeat. People are also curious about the Lakers and getting Dwight Howard, see how they're doing, and they're like 4 or 5 games under 500. They want to see a team like your team, the Clippers. They want to see how those guys do, and they're 31-9. I mean, look at that team; it's incredible. So there is a lot of interest. Seems to be a lot more interest this season. I think those things that I mentioned have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's exciting. Let's talk a little baseball. A lot of moves going on in baseball. Well, except for the Mets, But I heard an interview with your idol Sandy Alston the other day, and he was like, he didn't know what to say. He said a whole lot of nothing, man. I mean,
but he always does that. You know that.
I know, but I mean, and he says his words were, well, 2014, like he's always been saying. He says, but we are going to compete in 2013. So, I don't know how, but a lot of moves in baseball. 81 free agents, I guess, signed over the last couple of days, and that's amazing. A lot of moves going on. What's your thoughts, and has anyone stuck out for you?
As far as the moves, Napoli signing, he changed his contract with Boston. Ellsbury agreed to a $9 million 1-year contract. Nothing that really stands out. I mean, we've already talked about Josh Hamilton and all that stuff. But, I mean, as far as our beloved Mets, listen, bottom line is that, and I heard that interview, and Sandy was honest. He said he feels uneasy about the outfield. And I feel more than uneasy about
I was just going to say, I was going to go, geez, Mike, why? He doesn't have anyone out there. Why? What does he feel uneasy about,
Yeah, he's being kind by using
and he even admitted that the Harrison thing is it may not even. You said this last week. You said, I doubt that they're going to be able to sign him, and he even said, well, that doesn't look that good either in that interview. So that was the one guy that we were hoping to pick up, and we don't even get him.
Yeah, I mean, what it boiled down to, and what Sandy said, is that it's not just the money, it's the playing time, and obviously Scott Hairston, he wants to play, he wants to be a starter. So right now, look, the outfield is. It's Lucas Duda in left. It's Kirk Neuenhuis in center. And right field, he couldn't even give me an answer on who's in right field right now. If they sign Hairston, it's going to be Hairston. But, like I said, they've also been in talks about, in a trade with, Justin Upton. But you don't know if that's going to happen. And basically what Alderson said, does he want to go into this season, the way he is now? No, he doesn't. But there's no guarantee that they're going to pick up another outfielder. So, I mean, look, the outfield is a mess. There's no doubt about it.
I like Neuenhuis. I like Neuenhuis.
You know what? You said it, when we talked last year, and, when they got a book, meaning the major leagues, when they got the book on Neuenhuis and they got the book on Duda, their numbers started to fall rapidly. So, I mean, are these guys everyday players who are going to, do well in a 162-game season? I don't know. It hasn't been proven yet. So, but when you have nobody else to put in the outfield, they're going to have to do it. This is what you got. Basically.
Interesting comment in that interview. they started talking about the AAA team. We broke that story weeks before about Randy St. Clair becoming the pitching coach, and they actually said that they have a lot of faith in their AAA pitching staff and some offensive players, infield specifically. But I found it interesting that the opinion of the guys doing the interviews said, what a stupid move by the Mets. Here's a team that's financially strapped, and what do? They take their AAA club and they move them all the way across the country, and again, you start dealing with logistics, money, flights, travel, and they also made another interesting point that never crossed my mind. I knew about the travel, I knew about the distance and all of that, but something that didn't ever cross my mind until I was listening to that the other day was the stadium. That the numbers, the statistics are going to be skewed. It's almost like playing in Colorado, with the thin air and everything else. I mean, these guys could be hitting better, and realistically not as good as their averages because of where they're playing, and that's something that, again, it makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, we got a major league team in Colorado. And we know what it is. The ball's going to travel a lot further in the thin air out there, and it's fine. I mean, to me, it's not as big a deal. Whether they're playing in Vegas or they're playing in Buffalo, talent is talent, and these new guys that we got, especially like Travis Denard. No matter where this kid plays, if he's healthy, I think he's going to be a really good major league player. I think we hit gold with this kid. That being said, it's all about his health, and thank God that he didn't need surgery on his knee. And also, Sandy said that there was rumors about him having back problems and everything, but he squashed those rumors and said there's no issue with his back.
Yeah, but you know what? Their whole need surgery, not need surgery, that all went out the window when Carlos Beltran had that big war about the surgery and stuff. It makes you wonder where are they really looking just to band-aid a player to get him through a season or get him through a couple of seasons? Do they really want to correct the problem? I mean, now you look at Johan. Johan is trying to pitch for the World Series of Baseball, whatever they call it. David Wright is playing that. I don't understand. And I know that the WBC, not boxing, but the World, what does it stand for? World Series of Boxing?
World Series of Baseball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's WBC, World Series of Baseball. I mean, where does the C come in? World Series.
World Baseball Championship?
Yeah, maybe that's it. But the bottom line is, you just signed David Wright. He's going to be a New York Met for forever. I know you're happy about it. I could care less. And then you ship him off to play in the WBC.
That's his choice, though. I mean, all these guys are playing.
And the only thing I can say that covers the Mets' ass is the fact that they're actually insured by the WBC. So should he get injured, the Mets actually don't have to pay his salary. The insurance does, and that's a huge chunk of change, But Johan's trying to pitch in there, and apparently, he doesn't meet any of the criteria. But it looks like he's going to get accepted to play for Venezuela.
Well, listen, Johan has had plenty of rest. Let's keep in mind that when Johan was shut down last year, it wasn't because of any injuries; it was just fatigue, basically. So, I mean, he should be good, and actually Alderson did say that he's fine, there's no problems, and he did reiterate that, it wasn't an injury that caused the Mets to shut him down. It was just, they weren't going anywhere. So shut down your best pitcher and have him, 100% healthy for next season. And also keep in mind that, it's his contract year. So if anything, he's not going to be back with the Mets after this year. But he is playing for a contract, so he's, for sure, he's going to be playing his heart out. And that being said, listen, he's been a good New York Met. He's been out there, and he's given 100%. He's a bulldog out there. There's no doubt about it.
Well, if he's 100%, if he comes back to even 75% of his original form, I could see the Mets retaining him. Maybe not for the money that they gave him the first time around, but they need to keep something other than David Wright. I don't know. But,
and as far as the rest of the pitching staff, you just might see.
It's World
Zach
Baseball
Wheeler.
Classic. World Baseball Classic, by the way.
World Baseball Classic. You just might see Zach Wheeler. You don't know. You're definitely going to see Harvey. He's going to start the season. But you just might see Zach Wheeler. As a matter of fact, I think April 4th is a game. And Zach Wheeler is pitching, and then Travis Denard is going to be catching. And that could be, the new battery for the Mets in years to come, hopefully. So,
well,
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
They have so many high. You heard Sam. If you heard that interview, you heard they're talking franchise player for that young catcher we got from Toronto. So,
did you hear in the interview that they were in negotiations with another team for Dickey, and they would not, two players that the Mets wanted. The team would not give the two players for R.A. Dickey. After the trade was made with Toronto, that team called up the Mets and said, "We'll give you those two players for Travis Denard."
Right? Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah,
I did hear that.
So I mean, this kid is could be almost a sure thing. Again, you always have to take injury into account, but he's he could be the next Piazza. You don't know.
And the best part about that is the Yankees are going into spring training with a half a catcher between two of the guys that they got on their roster. So that ought to be interesting for us. Let's talk.
Also, one more thing before we get off this Denard thing. Don't be surprised if he's not up. Even if he wins out the job, don't be surprised if he's not in a Mets uniform for the first 20 days of the season. They're going to hold him back. I'm telling you right now.
Why?
I'm going to quote this. If Denard stays in AAA for the first 20 days of the season, he will be unable to accrue a full year of Major League service, meaning the team would control Denard through 2019 instead of just 2018.
Right, that's
so
right.
If you get another year by just holding him back for 20 days,
they
guaranteed.
They said that about some of the young pitching, too. They said that financial moves would cause them to wait a few weeks before they brought him up. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's business, man. And when you're strapped for money, that's the kind of stuff you got to expect.
Well, you know what? That makes sense to me because I'm a businessman and I own the team. And they said, hey Brooklyn, if you hold Travis back for 20 days and don't bring him up until the 21st day, we control his contract for an extra year.
Right.
That makes sense. I mean, we're not going anywhere.
I agree.
It's not like we're contending right away. So, yeah, hold him back for 20 days. Let's keep him to 2019 and be done with it.
No, you're right. Lot of football talk. A lot of moves going there. Let's start off with Oregon. I'm not going. I went. He's the new Philadelphia Eagles coach. What's your thoughts, man?
How many times we've seen, coaches come from the college ranks into the NFL and, just not do well. Look at your guy in Alabama, Nick Saban. That being said, he's also inheriting a team that's, they got a lot of problems offensively.
What's funny about that? We'll get to it in a little while.
You know why I'm laughing?
I know why you're laughing because their offense was terrible. So who the hell would want their coordinator?
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly why I'm
We'll
laughing.
get to that in a second. Well, of course, you know who wants their coordinator. But anyway, that's a whole other.
I think he'll do okay. I think
let's get to him.
Coordinator that was there.
Let's just hold that thought, okay? Because that is so much around him that just drives me crazy. But let's talk about Chip Kelly. His offense is pretty exciting generally, and the Eagles. Think about this. I think this is a good move for them. And whether Chip Kelly is successful in the NFL or not, I think it's a good, smart move for the Philadelphia Eagles because, a lot of the fans were split with letting Andy Reid go. I mean, Andy Reid did nothing but win, really, in Philadelphia. Now, he didn't win a Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal, but this guy has fielded competitive teams since the minute he's been there. Very few losing teams. So they needed to bring somebody in that was going to have a lot of interest and excitement around it. Now, whether he survives there or not is a whole other story. But at least initially, to draw the attention away from the fact that Andy Reid is gone, I think that was a smart move for Chip Kelly. To bring in Chip Kelly.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, it's not like you're bringing in like a coach from the NFL, a journeyman, let's say. You're bringing in fresh blood and somebody, look what he's done in Oregon. So it was a smart move by the Eagles. No, and I think he'll do fine. I mean, I don't think he's going to have the same problems that Nick Saban had when he came over here.
No, well, Nick Saban. You see, Nick Saban is a perfect college football coach because Nick Saban wants to be the sun in the solar system. He wants that team to revolve around him, which is the way it is in college. It's not like that in the pros. And I think Nick Saban realized that. And unless you're an established guy like Bill Belichick or Bill Parcells or somebody that's got a handful of rings, today's players just not going to listen to you. By the way, they're making $100 million. What do they need to listen to you for? They know more than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the Bears took a weird turn, and we think that the hiring a lot of college guys. But what about this bean counter looking Cecil kind of character that the Bears replace, which I was totally against. I don't think the Bears should have ever gotten rid of Lovie Smith. The guy did, again, he's a guy that was successful. I think there was other things going on with him, but the Bears hire a Canadian football guy in Mark Trestman, and he's a guy that was known for working with quarterbacks. He says he can't wait to work with the Bears quarterback, and I'm looking at this guy, and I know you can't judge a book by its cover, Mikey. I can't see this guy lasting long unless he takes him to the Super Bowl next year. This guy is not a Chicago Bear.
Why do you say that about judging a book by its cover? I haven't seen a picture of the guy, so.
Oh, well, he's, we're taller than him, and, he looks like an accountant. He doesn't look like, you think of the Bears, you think of Dick Butkus, you think of Mike Singletary, you think of, Walter Payton, you think of these monsters of the Midway, you think of these guys, Mike Ditka, and now wait till you see what Mark Trestman looks like. It's just like, huh? Wait a minute, it's a joke, right? Wait, we didn't ask the accountant to come in for the press conference. Where's the coach? Oh, you are the coach? Very polite guy. I'm very polite guy and respectful and stuff. But man, we'll have to see, man. We'll see what he brings.
Yeah, but I can't believe that you just You talked bad about the short people of the world. How could you do that?
No, it wasn't so much as high.
Shorter than us.
Hey, for all I know, listen, no one's shorter than us. All right, so maybe he looks small, but because he was standing against next to 6'6" guys, but he just doesn't look like a Chicago Bear coach to me. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. He's just not. We'll see. Again, I don't think the Bears should have ever gotten rid of Lovie Smith. Not that I'm a big Smith fan, but I didn't think he did a bad job.
No, I agree with that. I think he was shafted. It was 10-6 this year. And he had a slew of injuries, especially on the defense towards the end.
And his quarterback missed 2 games.
Yeah, I thought, I agree. I think he was shafted. But you know what? Listen. I'm looking at Trestman right now. I see what you're saying, but you know what? You can't judge a book by its cover. And this guy does have some NFL experience.
Yeah,
he's being an offensive coordinator in Cleveland and stuff. So
yeah, they were offensive juggernaut too, right?
Well,
I know he wasn't. When they were good with Brian Sipe and stuff. No, he wasn't around because he was probably 5. But the bottom line is, we needed some new blood, and I do agree that we need to think outside the box. There's no reason to just keep recycling these guys over and over and over. the Bills pick up Doug Marrone and a lot of other former NFL guys, including some of our own. One guy I was actually glad to see him go there. Not that I was a big Tyrone Wheatley fan, but I'm glad to see that he's still in the sport. He's a running backs coach for the Buffalo Bills. And you know what? The Buffalo Bills were they weren't as bad as their record, So maybe they
were in a lot of their games.
Yeah.
I mean, towards the end they started to fall apart a little bit, but no, I agree they were not as bad as their record.
Yeah, well, it's hard to keep everything going. Then Arizona picked up a new coach as well with Aarons, right? Isn't Aarons? Is that his name? Isn't he going? He was He was the offensive guy. I think for when Chuck Pagano isn't that the guy that went to Arizona? Bruce Arians? Arians, yeah. Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians, that's
right.
it.
Now, what happened to him? Remember, he missed. I don't know. I think it was a championship. I think it was a playoff game where he got sick or something, and he wasn't on the sidelines for that game.
Oh, I don't know. I never heard that story.
Yeah. I think something happened. They took him to the hospital for tests and stuff, and he wasn't calling the plays for that game, which was weird because he had called the plays. He was the interim coach the whole time Chuck Pagano was going through his treatments and stuff like that.
His treatments, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The Seattle Seahawks, Gus Bradley, which was a guy not that I had, any dreams of getting, talent with the New York Jets or anything like that, but this was a guy I was kind of interested in, and he was hired as the new Jaguars coach. We knew that, and the first words out of his mouth was, I agree, no Tebow here, So Winston Hunt, he went to the Chargers as the offensive coordinator. He did well with the Cardinals. He actually was a Jets tight end during the scab years. So,
right.
A lot of moves, especially the one that, the Jets, man. And before we talk about the GM, let's talk about their offensive coordinator, Marty Moringweg, who, and I'm probably murdering his name, who, is known for the ground and pound offense. Oh, wait a minute. No, he's not. He's a run and gun. He's a shoot. He's a passer guy, and that's exactly what. Oh, that's right. The Jets don't have an offense built like that. What's up with this pick, bro?
Well, first of all, just to let you know, his name is Morningway.
Right, okay.
The G is silent.
Oh, okay.
It's W-Y.
Thank you, Sister Mary Elephant.
Marty Morningway, you're right. He is a run and gun. He's a quarterback coach. This guy let Nick Foles throw an average of 38 times a game. Now, as a Jet fan, I ask you, what would happen if Mark Sanchez threw 38 times a game?
Well, the other thing too is they're blaming all of that lack of development from Mark Sanchez. Tony Sprono, forget it. He's not even in the picture because the guy could hardly even hold the clipboard right. We could tell by the fumbling that they had with the player swap personnel for every play he called. But Matt
Cavanaugh.
Matt Cavanaugh was the quarterback's coach for Sanchez, and they let him go for the lack of development. Maybe this is a guy that they want. However, rumor has it that they don't have the money, but they're dreaming about Michael Vick and some of the comments that your idol Rex Ryan is saying is that he made a mistake. He doesn't want to go to run and the ground and pound anymore. Now he wants to go with this guy. I don't think this guy knows what the hell. I'm starting to lose all faith in Rex Ryan.
Marty Morningway was also, I don't know if you know this, a head coach of the Detroit Lions 2001-2002 season.
And I think he was with the Titans at one point too, wasn't he, or no?
Not sure if he was no, he wasn't the head coach.
Not head coach, offense.
Fisher was there for so many years.
Offense.
But he compiled an impressive 5-27 record.
Yeah, that's good.
At that time,
that's good for the Jets.
There was a game, bro, in 2002, an overtime game, and this is before the rule changes, where you kick a field goal, the other team still gets possession of the ball, and they get the chance to either tie the game or win it with a touchdown. and they're playing the Chicago Bears, and he won the toss, and he elected to take the wind and kick off to Chicago, and they marched down the field, kicked a field goal, and won the game. And that's basically why he was thrown out of Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day when there wasn't this rule with the field goal, and it was just the first team to score, you never gave the ball up. If you had the best defense in the world, there's no reason to give the ball up.
No, because you got one chance. You had one chance at that time.
You had one shot. I mean, so again, just stupidity, and now we have inherited stupidity.
Well, we have stupidity from top to bottom. Really,
We do.
I've lost all faith in Woody Johnson when he and you know I'm a guy who I can't stand the what's his name from the Fan. I can't stand
Francesa?
I can't stand him. Can't stand him. I can't look at him. I just can't stand the guy. You know, anybody that you know opens up a phone line and then doesn't let you get your opinion across and he hangs up. I just can't stand the guy. But he's kind of right about Rex Ryan. You know, he says, you know, this guy has single-handedly destroyed this team, and it ain't getting any better. And Woody Johnson pretty much gave all the power to, you know, you reward him for such a piss-poor season by giving him the power. And what happens? It hangs the Jets in limbo for 2 weeks. They end up scraping the bottom, getting these guys. And Moringwing is an exact example of that. This is a guy that's probably wouldn't have been working if the Jets didn't sign him. Now let's go to their GM, John Idzik. Okay, John Idzik. All right, here's a guy. Now we got rid of Tattlebaum. Why do we get rid of Mike Tattlebaum? Because he's not a football guy. He's a business guy. He's a guy that is good at structuring, or we thought he was good at structuring contracts and blah, 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 right? So what do? We're going to bring in a football guy. We're going to bring in a guy that's a player personnel that's going to do this, that's going to do that, that's going to do the other thing. Let's bring in another guy just like Tattlebaum, because that's exactly what they did. They brought in his clone. Why not promote the other kid, Scott Cohen? Why not promote him? You know, if you were going to bring in this guy, why promote him? This was a guy that has no experience, although they said he did work with scouts last year. So what? This is a team that, you know, I'm looking at the condition of the Jets, okay? And you know, I wasn't even aware, and I'll be honest, until this morning, that we got 22 players on the current Jet roster right now, 22 that are going to be free agents. Now, 18 of those 22 are unrestricted free agents. Now, some of them aren't that good, but I got news for you, man. Some guys like Sean Green and Dustin Keller and LaRon Laundrie and those three have to be retained. I mean, not that they're so great, but you're not going to replace them, you know. And then Mike DeVito and Braylon Edwards, those two guys are important. Nick Folk, he's important. He'd had a good year. You know, lineman Brandon Moore is okay. I like Matt Slauson. I don't care that Rex doesn't like him for some reason. I like him. You know, these are 8 guys that they got to keep. Are they even going to be able to keep them? Does John Idzik know what's going on? I mean, talk to me, bro.
I'm sure he knows what's going on, and I'm sure he knows he has a huge task at hand. Let's start with the hiring of Idzik. Yes. They were supposed to go out and get a football guy, a personnel guy, and what do? They got a capologist and someone who negotiates contracts. Okay, that being said, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what he can do. My gut feeling is, yes, they hired a Tannenbaum clone. This just shows you who's running the organization, and that is Rex Ryan, which scares me. Okay. Let me hear the guy speak. Let me hear what he has to say before I start to criticize. I'm gonna reserve that. The guy has been with winners before. He's been around football for a very long time, a couple decades. He's been with Arizona when they made a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay organization. He's been with Seattle for the past few years. You know, I'm gonna wait. Am I excited about the pick? No. but I'm not going to bash the guy yet. I want to see what happens. I want to see what he says. I want to see some of the moves, that this guy makes, before I start bashing him. But I will criticize Woody for giving Rex Ryan all his power, for not going out and trying to get a personnel guy. And the reason that we lost a guy like Caldwell to the Jaguars is because, look, you said it yourself. He walked to the podium and he says, "Look, I don't see any scenario that's going to bring Tim Tebow here. I'm telling you right now." And he spoke. And now the owner of the Jaguars wanted to bring Tebow here last year, so they bring in the new the new GM, and Caldwell says, "No, I'm not doing it. And if you want my services and you want me to build you a team, I have to make these decisions." And you know what? The owner said, "Okay, fine, you win." So that's what the Jets should have gotten. But because you said, "Look, you're stuck with Rex Ryan. Rex is my guy," Caldwell said, "You know what? Forget it. Forget it. I'm going to a place where I can be the general manager, not be a puppet."
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yep.
So, I'm not mad at Idzik. I'm not, upset with any moves he's made, because he hasn't made any moves yet. I have to see how it unfolds. But my criticisms are towards Woody Johnson, obviously, for letting this happen. Now, the second part of your questions about all these free agents, yeah, it's a problem. Okay, Laron Landry has already gone on record saying he is not giving this team a hometown discount, and there's no way the Jets are going to fork over $6 million to keep this guy.
They're $20 million over the cap going
exactly,
into the year.
19.4 over the cap. Exactly. So it's a problem. So that's $6 million right there. Sean Green, he can't be the starting running back going into the season. Hopefully, we'll get lucky with win lotto and pick somebody up later in the draft that can provide a spark in the backfield. You're not going to go out and you're going to get Steven Jackson from the Rams. I think he'll be available. You're not going to spend the money on him. Dustin Keller hasn't been what we expected him to be. So we have a problem at tight end.
Yeah, but wait a minute. He's the only guy that Sanchez throws the ball to.
Well, maybe then keep him for that reason alone. I mean,
and Braylon Edwards.
I was going to say that hopefully they'll keep Braylon Edwards. I mean, you're going to have to keep somebody for Sanchez.
And look at Mike DeVito, the defensive guy.
He's gone. I'm telling you right now, Mike DeVito.
That's
is gone.
a shame, because he's a blue collar guy and he's cheap.
Yeah, well, he's not going to be cheap after he had a good season. That's the problem.
Yeah, but who's going to pay him big bucks?
You ready? New England.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
New England. I'm telling you right now, he's probably going to go to New England. And Brandon Moore. Well, I mean, you have to keep Brandon Moore just because Mark Sanchez likes to run up his ass. So.
And what about Slauson? He had some problems with Rex. You're probably not going to see him, but the line coach said that this is the guy that you want. He's. Just because he was being honest about Tebow and stuff, he said, this is the guy you want. This guy's smart. He's strong. He's big, and he's young.
Slauson you're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, the problem on the line has been their draft pick, Dukas, who has been terrible.
Well, that's the guy they keep substituting Slauson for.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he's just terrible. I mean, if we keep him another year, I mean, it's unbelievable. But, I mean, it's just there's so many problems. I mean, I'm actually hoping that Rex fails this coming season, because I want him out. I want you need to start over, and what you needed to do was clean house. And by keeping Rex there, Woody Johnson just added another year of misery to this team. That's basically what he did.
Well, a lot of people are saying that Rex Ryan, one of his biggest mistakes, and he's the guy that everybody always points to Sanchez, because he was the guy that favored Sanchez over Josh Freeman. Those were the two quarterbacks that they were thinking of getting at the time. All the Jets scouts said, no, Freeman's the better choice, pick him, and Rex overrode them and ended up with Sanchez. But the other big blunder that they contribute to Rex is Santiago Holmes. You know, that this guy is being paid like he's, one of the top 10 receivers.
Like he's Jerry Rice.
Right, and a top 10 receiver in the NFL. And many experts don't even have him in the top 25, let alone the top 10. So you're stuck with this guy who's a cancer on that team. He's not the kind of personality you want. So you're stuck with him. I think they should keep Braylon Edwards, but that's my opinion. They're knocking David Harris, who I thought was one of the most solid linebackers they had. I'm not hearing anything on Bart Smith. Bart Scott. I'm thinking that Bart's definitely gone. he didn't want to be there this year. Listen, we're in for everybody. All the Jet fans think that we had a rough year this year. I think next year is going to be worse.
Oh, I agree 100%. Next year's going to be worse. Because now Rex is definitely, without a doubt, running this whole show. I don't think Morningway is the offensive coordinator for this team. Don't forget. Listen, let's just say this: he did have some successful years as the OC with Philadelphia, but he also had talent around him.
Well, they were saying that, and they were saying because of him.
Andy Reid also. I'm sorry before to interrupt you, but Andy Reid also controlled that team. And you don't have a head coach on the Jets that does anything with the offense. Andy Reid controlled that offense basically. Morningway, he called the plays, but Andy Reid was still the king of that court. Yeah. Whereas in New York, it's going to be Morningway and not Rex at all. Well, Rex can talk all he wants about, I let the offense go and I'm going to have a bigger footprint on the handprint on the offense this year. That's nonsense. He's not. He's a defensive coach and that's it.
Well, his big claim to fame is Muhammad Wilkinson, who just came into his own this year. We can't find players in the draft that are going to take 2 years to develop. You need an impact player now, especially. Well, I think they picked 8th or 9th this year, So, you're going to get your choice of a good player. Listen, I am not a mock draft guy per se, but, you're splitting at the seams trying to tell me who the Jets are going to draft this year. I could sense it earlier when you mentioned it. Who are they going to take? Are they going to go defense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're going to go with the kid from Georgia. The linebacker, Jarvis Jones.
I would love to see Jarvis Jones. Now he's a junior. He's a junior. And he already went for free agency. I like Jarvis Jones. I saw him. There was the scary thing about Alabama is that only 2 players early went to the draft. I think that most of that Alabama team is going to be intact for next year, which is good for college football, at least for them. As far as the Jets go and their draft pick, that would be great to get him. The thing is that the Jets need so much, Mikey. We need offense. They're saying that there's no quarterback. I thought the kid from Georgia was a senior this year. I thought he was going to be available. He's a kid that I thought would be a number 1 draft pick, but for some reason maybe he's just a junior. But obviously they're not going to go for a quarterback. They do need a linebacker. There's no question about that. They could also.
So let me ask: would you be happy if they picked Jones on the first pick?
Jarvis Jones?
Yes.
I love Jarvis Jones.
Okay. I agree. If that's the way they go.
I like some of the Alabama team, some of the Alabama linebackers too. They got a couple of good. I'm trying to think. I'm almost positive that they're all coming back next year, so they're not going to be available. But this year might not be as strong of a draft year as we've seen in the past. Even though we had a competitive college season, I think a lot of them were underclassmen. A lot of the superstars, So. The Jets are going to have a good pick. The Jets are going to have a lot of talent on the board when it comes their turn. I think traditionally the Jets have always passed up on the good players. When we've had the young, really one of the only early picks that I think the Jets hit a home run with, and they didn't even keep him that long, was Keyshawn Johnson. Remember Blair Thomas? Mm-hmm. The guy was a bust, man. A lot of their number 1 draft picks were busts, so I don't know.
Don't forget Vernon Golston. Another
bust
disappointment, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they become superstars on other teams.
Well, I mean, he didn't even do that, to be honest with you. So
No, I know, but
listen. I mean, as far as I'm sure that Jones is high on their board, but you also have to figure he's got to be high on somebody else's board because the Jets do pick ninth.
Yeah,
So
they picked ninth. So
problem.
Buffalo's going to be picking ahead of them. I don't know if Miami. No, I think Miami picks after them. Cleveland, I think, picks ahead of them.
Yeah, Cleveland's 6. It's Kansas City 1, Jaguars 2, Oakland is 3, the Eagles are 4th, Detroit Lions are 5th, Cleveland Browns are 6th, Arizona is 7, Buffalo is 8, and we pick 9. There's also they talk obviously Jarvis Jones, but they've also mentioned the kid from LSU, Mingo. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name.
Listen, I would stay away from LSU. They had their whole year. Oh, I'm sorry. No. I'm confusing that with LSU. I know who you mean now. No. When you said LSU, USC popped in my head. So
no. I would stay away from USC.
Yeah. And let's be real. The Jets need so much help. Maybe they trade down. Maybe they trade their number 9 pick for a lower number 1 pick and a couple of extra number 2s. I don't know. As much as I hate the New York Giants, they traditionally have done very well in the draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They've also found some diamonds in the rough many times. 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks. So.
Reese has done a great job with the Giants. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that guy is really a personnel guy. There's no question. I mean, he studied under Ernie Accorsi. He's really good.
What are they going to do with Sanchez, man? Are they going to keep him? We're going to see Sanchez again, I think.
Well, $8.25 million guaranteed, whether you keep him or not. That tells you right there that he's going to be on the roster, I believe. And if they cut him, he's $17 million against the cap.
You're going to get this new offensive coordinator in there. He's going to sit down with Mark Sanchez, and Mark Sanchez is a likable guy. And he's going to go back to Rex, who likes Sanchez. I mean, after all, he's got the tattoo and everything of him wearing the jersey. I mean, he'd have to change that, put a 1 in front of the 6 or something. I don't know. But, he's probably going to, I think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. If the new offensive coordinator, if Marty thinks that he can, turn Sanchez around and right the ship and convince Rex and the rest of the Jets to maybe get him some more targets, if they keep Braylon Edwards, if they somehow can get Dustin Keller back on the team, and they find a running back, or they need a lot.
I mean, there's holes everywhere. The only place there's not a hole is the secondary,
and that's not that
chances
great.
Are you're going to lose Landry?
Well, you know what? Maybe they keep Landry and trade Revis. Listen.
Well, I mean, it's 2 different positions.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying about Revis is you can get a package deal for Revis.
Well, you could have gotten a package deal before the injury. Now
This is
everybody's
true.
going to be like, oh, no, he just came off major surgery, and not everybody is
Yep.
Adrian Peterson.
You're right, and they're going to say the Jets must know something if they're getting rid of this guy who was their franchise.
Exactly.
No,
so
you're
it's
right.
like catch-22.
No, you're right.
It's bad. It's bad. And like, listen, we went into the season this year, and we both said that this team is not a playoff team, and they're lucky if they're going to win, 8 games.
That's right.
So we knew that going in. Obviously, Rex and Tannenbaum and Woody talk the talk, and oh no, this is the best team I've ever had talent-wise. Yeah, okay, right. Stop trying to pull the wool over the Jet fans' eyes because we're smarter than you. Okay, you can't fool us. But they tried to, and obviously we were right. Now you talk about Sanchez and Morningway, and having this guy throw more and being, as Rex said, more of an attack offense. You need people. You need weapons.
I know.
And you're not going to find it. You're not going to find it in the draft.
No,
you're not. It's not a strong draft. and you're going to have to go out and try to find. Who's the kid from Jacksonville that actually Cecil Shorts? I mean, this kid came out of nowhere basically, and played really well for Jacksonville. That's what you got. You got to go out and find somebody that's already proven that they can play, be it a trade, be it whatever. But you're not going to find this top receiver in the draft. As far as the quarterback, you're going to get rid of Tebow. Your chances are you're going to keep Sanchez. You're going to keep McElroy. Get rid of Tebow. Tebow will probably be out of the league next year, and maybe 6th round. Roll the dice and take a quarterback.
Why?
Because
there's no.
You got to have somebody.
Yeah,
you got to take a chance. You're not gonna get a quarterback. There's no Andrew Luck and there's no RG3.
No, you're not going to get a young quarterback. I agree with you, but there's no sense in trying to get a number 6. If they're going to keep Sanchez or they look for a veteran to hold him over for a couple of years till they get a better quarterback opportunity. But there's really no one in the draft. That they should worry about.
I'm not saying worry about it, but I'm saying roll the dice with a late round pick, 6th, 7th, 8th round pick.
And
hey, listen, who one of the best quarterbacks of all time came out of the 6th round pick?
No, I know,
right?
I know.
So,
but the problem is that their criteria for a quarterback are Smurfs. Look at them. Look at Sanchez. Look at McElroy. McElroy proved to me, as much as I love him, he's not going to be the guy. He's too fragile. He's too small. Peyton. Chad Pennington, too small. They need a Peyton Manning. They need a guy that's 6'3", 6'4". That the way today's quarterback is. And speaking of Peyton Manning, the Jets. Even if we say that Sanchez didn't have the weapons, right? Well, I want some receivers like I saw last week in the playoffs. I want to see receivers make fantastic catches like all of the New England Patriots receivers, all of the Denver Bronco receivers, all of the 49er receivers, all of the Seattle Seahawks receivers. I mean, all of those teams that were in the playoffs last week, they have receivers that catch the friggin' ball. If it's anywhere near them, they catch it. You watch my boy from Alabama on the Falcons, Julio Jones. I mean, this guy makes catches. Why don't the Jets have receivers that make those catches? I watch balls hit receivers in the chest, splits their numbers, it bounces up into the air and gets intercepted, and guess what? Mark Sanchez gets the stat that's an interception and that he made a bad decision throwing into quadruple coverage, which could be the case. But still, the receiver's not making the grab either.
No, not all of Sanchez's turnovers has been his fault. However,
I know a lot of them.
He throws into triple coverage a lot.
I know
for a fourth year quarterback.
Well, he never looks at anybody else. When you're watching Peyton stand back, you watch Brady stand back, and you watch their head move, and what you're seeing is you're going, okay, there's number 1, he's covered. There's number 2, he's covered. There's number 3, he's covered. Oh, there's number 4. Bam, the ball's out of his hand. 2 seconds went by. He's already on his foot.
Sanchez does the opposite. He looks the safety to
as soon as Sanchez is calling the signals, he knows who he's going to throw the ball to.
Right.
He never looks at anybody else, and that's evident because when you watch the film, you see guys wide open in front of him, and in front of him. We're not talking about guys that are hiding in the corner of the end zone or guys that are on the opposite side of the field. You're talking about the running back that bled out from pass coverage, who's there as the dump off guy, who's there as part of the play to dump it off to me when you have no one else to go, who nobody's near. He's got 10 yards of open field in front of him, and Mark doesn't see him.
I know. You don't even know if that can change. I've been saying all along that they overevaluated this guy. They thought too highly of him.
Listen, let's talk about something good. I got the agita already. Let's talk about the NFL playoffs. Now, listen. It's been made official, Mike. I mean, we had a lot of fun and everything else, but last week, mathematically, there's no way you're going to catch me. I mean, even if you go against me last week was the end for you. It was fun while it lasted. I'm 4 games up on you. I'm probably going to finish 4 games up on you. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I finish 4, 5, 6, or 1. You lose, I win. So congratulations to me.
I give you 2012.
Okay, I got end part of 13. Let's we got to bleed into
2012, 13.
I will be going into the beginning of this year's football season as the picking champ. So there we go. But we had a couple of exciting playoff games last week, and I'll tell you, kudos to both of us. We were pretty damn good at the beginning of the season picking the playoff teams, because I think we were pretty much. I know I only missed one, and every other team was in there. And now I'm only really off of the championship game by one team, and that was the Broncos. And did it really shock you how the Broncos lost that game? I mean,
absolutely. They shouldn't have lost that game. They gave that game away.
I know. But we got a couple of good matchups this week. Of course, the Ravens, who seem to have all the juice going with them at this point. They're traveling up to New England for the AFC Championship game. And then the 49ers have to go to Atlanta and play the Falcons. Let's start off with the AFC first. The Ravens against New England. I said to a buddy of mine, I said, listen, the team that wins this game, and I was referring to the Broncos against the Ravens, I said, I have a strange feeling it's going to go all the way. I said, I like this game. I picked the Broncos. I told you last week I was rooting for the Ravens, but I picked the Broncos because I picked them to be in the Super Bowl. And I agree with you. For all intent and purposes, they should have won that game. New England, they played fantastic. I mean, come on, New England's New England. I went against them. That was your win. I thought that the Texans would beat New England. Boy, was I wrong. Brady looked as good as ever. Wes Welker, I wish the sniper was in the audience to take his knees out so he wouldn't continue to play as well. But now they're going up against the Ravens at home. I think the Ravens got it. They got this look about them. There's sometimes when teams, the luck, the ball bounces their way. The Giants, I could go to every Super Bowl that the Giants won, and they had that it factor during the season. They just got the calls. Things just worked out for them. The Ravens, not so much during the season, but ever since Ray Lewis said, hey, guys, this is it for me, each player on that team, each member of the coaching staff, each fan in the seats, all want to get to the Super Bowl for Ray Lewis for what he's done to the Ravens. And because of that, Mikey, I think the Ravens will beat Brady and the Patriots. I'm picking the Ravens. And I got news for you. 9 points, 9.5 points, whatever it is a ridiculous line. I'm usually in agreement with the line that comes out of Vegas, but that is a ridiculous line. There's no way that the New England is going to blow away this team. It's not going to happen. I think the Ravens are going to win outright, but I also think it's a pretty safe bet getting 9 points.
When you see 9 points, they're begging you, meaning Vegas is begging you to take the Ravens, and I can't understand it. And if you do take the Ravens, because you look at the 9 points, then the team that they're playing usually beats them by 14.
Exactly.
So it's like if Vegas knows something that we don't know, but I still look at 9 points and I say it just can't be. I'm picking the Ravens as well, and the reason I'm picking the Ravens, this team should have beaten New England last year if it wasn't for a dropped touchdown pass and then a blown chip shot of a field goal. Two stats that stand out to me in this game, and they both have to do with Tom Brady. One, Brady has the lowest completion percentage against the Ravens. He has the worst completion percentage against this team. That's number one. Number two, he has thrown more picks than TDs against the Ravens. The Ravens seem to have his number. Joe Flacco has outplayed Tom Brady in their last couple of meetings. There's no doubt about that. So that being said, and you throw in the factor of Ray Lewis, his last year, and they are playing with this intensity, this fire that seems to be a little brighter than most fires that they've played with before. I like them to go into New England, and they've been waiting for this. This is a year ago that they were knocked out by this same team. They've been waiting for this, and I think they're going to go in and beat them.
I heard a quote yesterday, and they said that Ray Lewis said in the locker room last year after the loss, they said, listen, guys, keep your heads up. We're going to be in the same position we are right now next year. Mm-hmm. And they are, so I believe in, I've said all along about the talent level in the NFL and everything else, that it's a play away, it's an injury away from a good team versus a bad team, but the talent level is pretty damn close from all the teams in the NFL, and that's what makes football so great. But with that said, there's always that intangible. It's Ray Lewis, and it's the fact that he's made it clear. And nobody for a second is thinking, oh, maybe we'll get one more year out of Ray Lewis. No, Ray Lewis is the kind of guy that says, this is it. I'm a win, lose, or draw. I'm not playing again. I think this team is going to die on that field for him. And, that's why I'm picking the Ravens.
And just to add one more point, I talked about the Brady not playing well against Baltimore.
He won, though.
I think you're going to see a lot more running from the Patriots. If they're smart, I think you're going to see less pass and more run, because the Ravens are not very good, even with Ray Lewis, against the run. And the past 2 playoff games, they've allowed 277 yards rushing, and they do have 2 decent running backs in Stephen Ridley and Shane Vereen. So I think you're going to see a lot of running from New England this game.
Yeah, I think that's what they should do, but for some reason I think New England has abandoned the run. I don't know. We'll see. 49ers against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, couldn't get past, at least with Matt Ryan, couldn't get past the winning a playoff game. They did that last week, but watching that game, Mike, I watch that game and I'm saying, man, this is a good team, this is a good team, this is a good team. And then I watched Matt Ryan fall apart and throw that interception, and man, did the air come out of the balloon then. And to watch Seattle, whom I know you let me, really suffer last week by cutting up Pete Carroll when he wasn't even playing the team I was cutting him up against. But to watch them, literally get back in this game and not only get back in the game, but for all intent and purposes should have won the game. I mean, how they let them get in field goal range for the game-winning field goal was ridiculous. But it showed me a lot about this Falcon team. And I also, I hate to use the word overrated, but I believe they are overrated. And even though they've done nothing but win, a lot of internal people, fans especially, were against the running back, saying they didn't have it left in him, and he had a banner game last week. But that's against the Seattle Seahawks. That's not against the 49ers. 49ers he's not going to be running all over them this week. I think the game is going to fall in the hands of Matt Ryan, and although he's a capable quarterback, and he's got excellent receivers in Roddy White and Julio Jones, I just think the 49ers, they've played their whole season for this game. They have been haunted by the fact that they lost to the Giants. They've played this whole season just waiting and chomping at the bit to get back into the championship game. They feel they blew it. They feel they deserve to be in the Super Bowl last year. They had some stinker of games this year, but their focus was all on the game that's going to happen tomorrow. And I don't think they're going to lose. I think we're going to see the Harbaugh brothers in the Super Bowl, and I think the 49ers are going to go into Georgia and at home. I not only do I think they're going to beat the Falcons, I think they're going to spank them pretty well.
There's always saying, you bet with your head, not your heart. And everything you said is correct. I mean, this 49ers team is so much stronger on both sides of the ball. They have so much more depth than the Atlanta Falcons. That being said, I'm going to go with the Falcons here.
They do great at home, right?
Yeah, they manage to win. That's the thing. They just do enough to win, and I think they're just going to do enough. I think it's going to be ugly, and they're not going to take this team by surprise. And rolling. It's not going to happen. But just like with the Seattle game, they were up, like by 20 points at one point, 20-0. And now obviously I couldn't see the game because I was at a wedding, so I'm looking at my phone and I'm watching them catch up. And all of a sudden, Seattle's up 28-27, and Atlanta wins the game with 8 seconds to go with kicking a field goal. That's what I'm saying. This team just does enough to win. And as strong as San Francisco is, and I agree with you, if I'm betting with my head, I'm betting San Francisco. There's just something about this team just getting by. And also keep in mind that this is Tony Gonzalez's chance. And we talk about Ray Lewis and chance to get back into the Super Bowl. Well, last week was Tony Gonzalez's first career playoff win. And I think they're going to be playing for him as well. You don't see as much fanfare because he doesn't come out of the tunnel dancing and shaking and doing the jitterbug like Ray Lewis does. So you're not hearing it. But I think behind closed doors, they want to get to the Super Bowl, and they want to get to it for their guy who's retiring, and that's Gonzalez. So I'm picking them in a close, ugly game. I think they'll just do enough to win. They know all about Colin Kaepernick. They know he can not only he's a pinpoint passer, but a strong arm. I'm talking Brett Favre gun for an arm. But I mean, his legs are probably better than anybody's legs in the game. They'll just do enough to win, I think, and squeak one out and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, rumor has it that he's not going to retire, Gonzalez. He had such a great
95% chance, whatever it is. But
after a year like he's had, I tell you, I agree with everything you're saying about the Falcons, and because of their home, record and the fact that they always find a way to win. Even last week, with 30 seconds to go, it was 31 seconds, I believe, when they got the ball with one timeout, and they end up getting themselves in position to kick a game-winning field goal was amazing. And there was still 9 seconds on the clock. I just think that, the reason why I went with the 49ers is because of what I witnessed with the Falcons have to hang on. Remember, they were winning 20-0,
wasn't it?
27-7.
Right.
They were up by 20 points. 3 touchdowns would have had to beat them going into it was just about the end of the third quarter. So I mean, this was a team that literally fell apart, and you're not the Seattle Seahawks. I know you like them, and they're a tough team and everything else. They ain't the 49ers, man. That 49ers is a vicious group, and hey, as long as no injuries, this is going to be a great weekend. Really, we couldn't ask for a better couple of championship games, really. I'm looking forward to it. Either way, regardless of which two teams emerge, we're going to have a good Super Bowl on our hands, bro.
No, I agree. And when I talked about the 49ers and the Falcons, would it surprise me if what you said comes to fruition, that the 49ers spanked them all over the field? No, that would not surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me if Atlanta squeaks by with an ugly win at the end of the game. The only thing that would surprise me if the Falcons spanked the 49ers all over the field.
Yes,
that's the only thing that would surprise me.
I agree with you 100% on that. On this day, January 19th, in 1880, William Muldoon wins the Greco-Roman Wrestling Championship that took place at Madison Square Garden. Muldoon went on to become John L. Sullivan's trainer and the chairman of the New York State Athletic Commission. So that's what happened on January 19th in 1880. Also on this day in 1911, Rudolph Walter Wanderone, more commonly known as Minnesota Fats. He was born in New York on this day in 1911. And on this day in 1952, Ted Collins sells the New York Yankees football franchise back to the NFL after 2 seasons playing at Yankee Stadium. 5 days later, the NFL sells the franchise to the Dallas Texans, who fold right after the 1952 season and replaced that team with the Baltimore Colts. That's something I learned today, bro. I didn't even realize that was the history of the Colts. And finally, on this day in 1973, in one of the biggest upsets in NHL history, the expansion Islanders, who were going into the game with 4 wins, 37 losses, and 4 ties, and losers of 12 straight games in a row, beat the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Boston Bruins, 9-7 at the Boston Gardens. That's some stuff that took place in New York sports history on this day, January 19th. Any final thoughts, my man?
Yeah, I want to congratulate you one more time because I'm not a sore loser on beating me this year in the 2012-13 season. And I'm looking forward just to relaxing tomorrow and just watching these games from start to finish, something I didn't get a chance to do last weekend because of a wedding. So, listen, I'm just happy for two great matchups, and I think, like you said, no matter who gets in, it's going to be an exciting Super Bowl.
I agree with everything you said, and I had some fun doing the picks with you this year. We look forward to doing it again next year. I think I got a little lucky because you had a couple of those really awful weeks where you fell far behind. But it got real close there. You caught up with me for a while there, so I love it. And, hey, it's all in good fun. And I look forward to talking about the Super Bowl next week and all that happy stuff. So, Mike, you take care of yourself. And to everybody out there, make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you then. Ciao.